Welcome to day 8. And maybe I struggled with this day a little bit because I don't know that I have a big insight to share with you or that I did something particularly amazing today. But maybe that's what this is about, is it was a day of shoulds. It was a day of probably needing a little bit of downtime at home, but fighting against this voice that said, you're in Paris. It's a limited time. You have to maximize it. You need to go see something every day because it will be over faster than you think it's going to be over. And a month from now, will you regret spending a day at home? And I think maybe the answer is no. I think that I also need to find that balance to get the rest periods in, to um, have the downtime. We all need the downtime. And yet, are we giving ourselves the downtime? Because I know I'm not the only one that lives with the shoulds, that battles with the shoulds, and it is a part of all of us. I actually think it's maybe a version of our inner critic. It is some version pushing us, declaring that things have to be a certain way, that they need to show up in a certain way, that they must be productive, they must produce external results because the inner transformation just isn't as valid somehow. And how much do we live that in our lives, in our careers? How much are we bound by the duty and the responsibilities that we have? And that's not to say that our responsibilities aren't important. Absolutely. If you have to take care of children or parents or pay your mortgage, I don't advocate shirking those responsibilities, but I also know there's always one more thing we can be doing. There is always a little bit more cleaning, another task, another project, some other thing that could be done. And are we giving ourselves rest? Are we giving ourselves a chance to be present? Sometimes we're booking ourselves so that we're distracted enough at all times that we actually don't get the chance to be present. But I also think there is nothing wrong with rest. There is nothing wrong with the opportunity to gather yourself again, and that it is actually as productive in the end as doing something visible, something external that others can see. I think we just need to learn to sit in that space. I think as leaders, we can often kind of be guilty of that, but I also think we're socialized into it in any demanding career, in any career progression. It's usually the ones that are self-driven, are able to get things done, are willing to go above and beyond, and that behavior is rewarded for us. And certainly those are the people that we want on our teams. Those are the people we want in our organizations, the ones that are willing to work hard, the ones that are not waiting for that next direction, that have the initiative. But at the same time, we're all at risk of burnout. And I think some of the endemic burnout that we really see all over the world is some of the result of that constant should of a pace of life and need to accomplish that pushes us and drives us. And so I think there's some unlearning that probably needs to happen. There is the ability to value rest as a group, as a society, and start to find our way back to it, and to be able to have days where there's not as much that is a dramatic story to tell, and that's okay. Not every day needs a dramatic story to tell. Now, I didn't do nothing. I did make it out of the house. I was out of coffee for one, and within my hierarchy of priorities, waking up and not having coffee in the house was not going to be an option for me. So I headed out to the grocery store, but I also didn't go to my usual grocery store. Instead, I tried something new. And what surprised me was usually, and for the entire first week that I've been here, come out of my apartment, turn left. I know that my metro station is a block over and a block down. I know there are two grocery stores within about a couple minutes of my place, always turning left and heading towards kind of one of the main streets. But I wanted to try something different. And I came, turned right, made it to the end of my block, took a little bit of a turn, and lo and behold, sitting on top of the buildings is a little bit of the Eiffel Tower peeking out. And what a wonderful moment. And also a little bit surprised that it took me a week of being here before I made that discovery. And I think it's a simple metaphor for all of us in our lives of how much can we be open to new experiences? How many great things are sitting right in front of us, but we don't always get to see them. I got to venture a little bit further around the neighborhood, and it's a neighborhood I'm really learning to love. It is clear that much of the building happened in the 20s and 30s, and there's a really strong Art Deco feel to the neighborhood. And at this moment, I'm actually liking that a little bit better than the very uniform Haussmann architecture of Paris. It is beautiful in Paris. It has that very clear look the moment I get off the metro and step out. And if there is a branding, in a sense, for Paris, that's certainly it. But there's something really great about this neighborhood, too. It feels a little more homey. It feels a little more personable and approachable. And I'm loving that. And just the simple exploration brings me a lot of joy. There is a very large football stadium, probably 10-minute walk away. Again, had no idea it was there. Didn't know that Paris Saint-Germain plays out of that particular stadium. And I'm sure at some point in my visit, there will be large crowds around celebrating game day. And so today, maybe I'm enjoying those simple pleasures. I'm enjoying the ability just to find the joy in those unexpected moments. And I think for me, it also represents tapping into that somatic intelligence that I often come back to and speak about. That if I use my analytical brain, as I say, there's always another task to do, there's always something else that needs to be accomplished, to be demonstrated, to show others, perhaps in some way, shape, or form. And if I tune into myself, it is the somatic version that says, it's a day to take it easy. It's a day to maybe not tax my brain. It's a day to appreciate that there's a whole lot of newness, and that while I love going and seeing world-class attractions within the city, it still is time on the metro. It still is time navigating. It still is sometimes time spent in line or buying tickets or doing all of those things that I certainly don't mind doing, but maybe doing them every day is probably not for me, is not the right way that I want to spend this month. And so as I tune back into myself a little bit more, I can see what it is I need, maybe rather than what it is that I think I should be doing. And again, it is an invitation to all of us around living more presently in our lives and living in a way that helps us be better tuned into ourselves. I think we can get hooked on those to-do lists. We can just know the busyness that exists. As one of the great coaching buddies I have talks about, he's trying to overcome a sense that there is play that can happen after homework, but there's always homework to do. And I think that's true for so many of us. I think if we're waiting for our to-do list to be done, it's never going to be done. And so where are we taking those moments to set aside our to-do list and simply simply have an experience of simplicity, to appreciate nature that is around us, to appreciate a walk down the street. And I still also really value the new and novel, but the new and novel can happen in different ways than I'm maybe expecting. That new and novel doesn't always have to mean a really particular attraction that is in a guidebook or on a website. It can also mean new and novel in my own neighborhood, as I explored and talked about earlier. That my ability to see new things within my own neighborhood represents the new and the novel. And if you were finding in your world that there is a lot of repetition, you're a little bit distant from it, what is your opportunity for a new novel in your life? For people I've coached, sometimes it's been talking about an art gallery in their particular city or town, going to see a piece of live theater or live music, or trying a new restaurant, or even going and buying a new ingredient and trying cooking something else, cooking something new, a recipe you've never tried. I think the new and the novel is important in our lives, and trying to set it up in a way that you can't fail at it. You try a new restaurant. If you don't like it, you don't like it, and that's okay. It was more about the process of trying something than it was about um, succeeding at it necessarily. And I think the new and the novel is really important, but doing the new and the novel in a way that is failure proof, because again, it's that classic, are we focused on the outcome, or are we focused on the process? This could have been a very outcome focused day, and for me it needed to be actually back to the process, back to something that was more in line with where I was for this particular day, what I needed in this particular day, and giving myself permission to do that. And I think we all need that permission, and to give ourselves that permission, because we live in a society that is obsessed with hustle culture, that tells us if we want to achieve, we want to see our dreams come true, the only reason that happens and the only way that that comes true is as a reflection of our work and our efforts. And somehow by working ourselves into exhaustion is where we're going to succeed, because those who have succeeded are telling us that's what's necessary, or at least those who want to interpret those who have succeeded. And I think, once again, some of that process can be what happens on the days when we're quieter, what happens when we're not so key focused on some particular outcome, and we give our minds the ability to wander. I think if there is value amongst many things that I'm doing here, it's my ability for the exposure to new ideas. I have no idea what different connections I'm going to make in my brain by seeing all sorts of different architecture styles and art and live performances and metro experiences and simple supermarket experiences. They all count. They all have an effect on what new ideas I can come up with, because I'm stretching my brain to have new experiences, and those new experiences can be simple or complex. And so I am letting go of my shoulds for the day. I am embracing all of the value that came out of the day, both in rest and in simple, enjoyable experiences. And we'll see what tomorrow holds. It was a good day, even though at different parts of it, perhaps I struggled with thinking about others on the outside looking in, and I really had to reframe that to be on the inside looking out, aligning to self, aligning to my own somatic intelligence, my needs, and my wants for the day. So, my encouragement to you is, where do you need more of that? And how are you going to give yourself permission to have more of those moments? Otherwise, we'll leave it there, and I look forward to talking to you tomorrow for day 9. Thank you for watching.